Hello and welcome. So in today's session we're going to look at the rules behind percussion for component 1 recording. Now this is something that comes up quite a bit, and every year we get very similar questions regarding which percussion can you use, what can't I use, is this allowed? As a hard and fast rule, it's kind of no. Any additional percussion will cost you marks. Now, it kind of equates to about 8 marks over the whole thing, and I'll show you how that works. So if you use any pitch percussion in any form, it will lose you at least 8 marks. And like I said, I'll show you where that comes from. So once again, if you like this content, you want to see more of it, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, post your comments below for any content that you want to see. So this is probably going to be the last one this year for the component 1 recording area, but we will look at mixing and mastering. In the next set we're probably going to look at the component 2 and just kind of getting set up for that. Now, as you guys are probably more than aware, I like to record mine over the first half term of the year, which is in October for us. So we've done the bulk of our recording. There's a few bits that we have to redo. There's a few issues as there is every single year, but for the bulk of it, the recording now is done, and I'm just going through the process this week and probably next week, just making sure all of the work is backed up before the students can start mixing. So whilst I'm taking the time to back up all their work and check their work for consistency and make sure they haven't kind of used any parts or anything like that, I'm going to get these students now started on looking at the component 2 and just make sure that they're familiar with it and just start giving some ideas about the ones we want to do. So I'll share my thoughts and opinions about that in the next few sessions. So back to component 1 recording, the rules. So here's just a list of things. So what percussion can I use? And the answer is pretty much none. So don't be fooled by that. And if a student starts saying to you, oh sir, can I use this percussion or can I do this? I think you should greatly steer them away from it and just say, look, if it's not a clean recording, you will lose marks. And ultimately, at the end of the day, that's at this particular point that is more important. And I know that there are lots of kind of arguments about this. Pearson and Excel have done it again and they've kind of ruined the course or whatever, but they have been very, very clear about this. So if you add percussion and you make your mix muddier than it needs to be, you will lose marks for it, and they're very clear about that, and they're unforgiving on that. So just be very aware. If a student tries to kind of bend the rules a little bit, it's likely that they're going to lose marks. And over the course of things, eight marks may not seem a lot, but it really is, and it will cost them between at least one grade at least. So the next question I always get is, can I use unpitched percussion? So that will be things like cowbells and shakers and tambourines. And in most recordings that you would expect to hear that in abundance to kind of mask things or to kind of put kind of drive on the music. And in the past specification, we were all over this. I love the percussion, and I must admit that in the last specification, it's something we did a lot of, make sure that they change between tambourine and shaker and things like that, and make sure that it kind of there was lots going on to drive the dynamic. But once again, you're not allowed to use them for this production. So although it kind of goes against kind of hard and fast production rules, for this assessment, you are not allowed to use unpitched percussion of any description. And I'll go over the kind of the drum parts that you can use in just a second. So the next one is obviously, can I use electronic percussion? So can I chuck a keyboard in and kind of use synthetic percussion? And once again, that's an absolute no. You are allowed to use VSTs and software instruments for the keyboard parts and only the keyboard parts. So don't start chucking in loads of synth parts, because you will get marked down for that as well. So hard and fast rule, no on the electronic percussion, unpitched or pitched. Now, excuse me, the one that I'm a little bit kind of half and half with is this one. And I got this question a few months ago, and I was kind of like, you better check with Jeffrey Hole about this. And it says, can I use guitar tapping? Now, for my money, I'm going to say no, because although, and it was related to an Ed Sheeran song, so obviously Ed Sheeran's on this year's list for, I think that was AS actually. But, and that's part of the makeup of the song, is that he's tapping away and he's strumming. but I would definitely find a different way of playing that. Maybe even getting the drummer to take it over as if it's the bass drum or the snare part, or a side rim on the snare part, maybe, I don't know. So if you do have that question about guitar tapping and you're absolutely adamant that you would like to do it, I think the best thing to do is just contact Jeffrey Hole and just make sure that he's okay with that. That's a bit of a sketchy area, really, but ultimately it's no. So let's look at the rules behind this. Let's just flick over to the web and just go and show you the documentation behind this. So I'm going to go over to the Pearson EdXL website. The first thing I'm going to show you is this year's brief. So this is just this year's brief, and it just goes through what you can and can't use. And obviously the minimum requirements, it actually doesn't tell you the maximum requirements for a drum kit, but the minimum requirements are a kick, snare, hi-hat, crash. I'm pretty sure you're going to be allowed to use toms for that, and I'm pretty sure you should be allowed to use any snare technique you want for that. So that's okay. The next thing is additional prohibited additional percussion. So this is just giving you the starting list. It's not saying everything, it's just saying most of it. So as you can see, tambourine is not allowed, cowbell is not allowed, woodblock is not allowed, gong's not allowed, cajon is not allowed, bongo is not allowed, congas, djembes, tambourines, triangles, and electric percussion. So that's pretty much everything that you could ever think of. So that's what's prohibited. Now, I think that's fairly clear, and it's very explicit. Don't use it. It's going to muddy up the sound, and you will lose marks. Now, this is how the mark scheme works. We're inside the specification now. This is component 1 specification. I'm just bringing you to the mark grid. Now, if you scroll down to grid 5, this affects grid 5 and grid 7. So it says here, 0 marks will be awarded if unpitched percussion instruments, including electronic percussion, are present. So straight away, in this area alone, for balance and blend, you will lose 4 marks. No ifs, no buts, you will lose 4 marks. Now, once again, that may not seem a lot, but that's almost half a grade right there. So you can also scroll down, it's number 7. So it's the last one. The percussion with managing noise, distortion, master levels, and audio editing. And once again, this also appears here. So 0 marks will be awarded if additional unpitched percussion instruments, including electronic percussion, are present. So straight away, there's 8 marks that you can lose there. I don't think that rule will affect anywhere else. It certainly won't affect stereo. It's probably not going to affect the editing process for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Although it does emphasize that this is for the drums, but I'm pretty sure that it won't affect that. So you are talking that if you add percussion, it will lose you 8 marks, 100% definite. So be aware of that, and I don't think personally it's worth even taking that risk. If you've got a student that's on the edge, that's basically gonna cost them massively. So I think that's pretty much it from me, musictechstudent.co.uk. If you have any questions about that, or you want further clarification, obviously we're here and we'd love to answer them, and we'll run another session if necessary. If you like this content and you want to see more, support the channel, give us a thumbs up, give us a like, subscribe to the channel, give us a comment below, tell us the content that you would like us to show, and we'll try and do that. It's always nice to get the questions, and although sometimes I don't have the answers and I have to go and find them out, that's absolutely fine. But if you're thinking it, you can almost guarantee other people are thinking it, and that's why we're putting these sessions together, just so that we can answer the questions for everyone. Because a lot of people, they don't like to ask, and they're like, oh, I'll look silly if I ask. So it's just really about you guys and saying, look, let's all have the information, let's push forward together, let's make the A-level and the AS music technology the best it can possibly be, and let's get those grades for our students, and that's pretty much it. So I think we should be back to normal by next week. Obviously, the last few weeks have been a bit tough for me with all the recording and stuff, but we should be back to normal by next week. So hopefully we should be starting to knock out at least one of these a week, and we're going to concentrate at least for the next 3 or 4 weeks on the component 2, and just looking at setting it up and helping you guys go through a few of those questions, and then we will look probably at the mixing and mastering for both of them. before we start moving on to the component 3 and component 4 again. Okay, so I hope that was useful, and I'll see you next time.